one of the biggest knocks about Dark Phoenix, obviously, it's their next attempt at telling the Dark Phoenix Saga, which is very popular from the comics, obviously. And The Last Stand didn't do it right, as far as really anybody's concerned. But one of the knocks on this movie is that it kind of does the same thing that The Last Stand did. Dark Phoenix kind of repeats the same sins that The Last Stand did.
Yeah, I think the culprit here, I'm just going to call him out, Simon Kinberg, who
Co-writer of The Last Stand.
Co-writer of The Last Stand, and then sole writer and director of Dark Phoenix. This was him trying to get the Phoenix story right? Yeah. He wants to make amends. He's had 13 years to think about it, but yet it seems he didn't learn his lesson.
He's been busy those 13 years, so...
The movie actually just proved to be a lesson in frustration because so many elements that were lamented from The Last Stand were used again in slightly different fashion, or sometimes just directly the exact same thing in Dark Phoenix. And I think I don't know what to think about it, but let's run through some of the points.
Run them down.
I think the first one is just that the movie is a gross, fundamental misunderstanding of the Phoenix Saga, which is actually two parts in the comics, right? There's the Phoenix Saga where she gets the Phoenix Force and actually operates as a hero for a while, trying to do good things using the Phoenix Force. And we get a lot of insight in her head of how she's feeling and what having this overwhelming sense of power thrust upon her, what that means to her as Jean Grey as a character. And then there's the Dark Phoenix Saga, right? Where outside forces, villains corrupt her, turn her into the Dark Phoenix, trying to use her to their own end. And she becomes a destructive force that the X-Men then have to come in, and the cosmic forces outside Earth also try to inflict some justice on the Phoenix, and she ultimately sacrifices herself and perishes.
Big fight on the moon.
Yeah, goes out.
Big fight on it's a blue moon.
The blue moon.
The blue area of the moon.
Yeah, the blue area of the moon.
Get
it right.
Where the Inhumans live, duh. So, but just all that is just thrown out the window, and they, just like in The Last Stand, they rush to make her the Phoenix. They forget about Jean Grey the person, and then just show her suffering, and she's like hyper attuned to pain, emotion, her sexual desires. That was also in The Last Stand. And there's a little bit of it in Dark Phoenix. And then she just becomes the villain, right? Who the X-Men don't want to hurt, but they want to save, but she's going to hurt them anyways. And then it goes like off the rails from there. But there's more. Yeah. And I know you'll have something to say on this one, because why'd they put her in a red trench coat again?
Yeah.
It gave me just direct flashbacks to Famke Janssen's Phoenix, where it was just gaudy red trench coat and like really red hair. What the heck?
Where did Jean even get such a trench coat? And then just decided, I'm gonna operate as this. I'm like a detective. She's like Carmen Sandiego or something, in a maroon trench coat. Right. I didn't understand. It was just frustrating. I mean, whatever.
Let me pitch you my idea on how they could have given her the Phoenix costume.
Let's hear it.
Because I know they weren't gonna do like the tight bodysuit with Phoenix emblem, matching sash. Like that was never gonna happen.
And a little mask.
They don't go that route for the movies, but. They were all wearing X-Men costumes, right? So what if when she got the Phoenix Force that was initially like in space, it like burned her costume on the way in, turned the blue to black, and then frayed the yellow X, making it look like bird feathers, and she just wore that like corrupted, charred X-Men costume.
Where were you in the writer's room?
Bravo.
That's brilliant.
But no, get her the trench coat.
It's easier.
Right.
Trench coat.
I mean, the other thing that I think this movie did that The Last Stand also screwed up was like they really just made her pretty passive through the whole thing. Like it was, for a movie. I mean, in this one it was actually called Dark Phoenix, where X-Men Last Stand wasn't the titular Last Stand or anything, but. Like, it's a movie about other people just kind of talking at her and trying to apologize or trying to manipulate or both. And in this one, Charles's arc was sort of interesting, but it was kind of the same one that they did in The Last Stand of like he has to reckon with the fact that he screwed up by tampering with her memory when she was a kid. And so much of that becomes the movie instead of just dealing with what Jean's going through and what the Phoenix is going through.
You hit the nail on the head, Clint.
Good.
I was actually, part of me wondered while I was watching the film, I was like, Why did Charles not just tell her that her father didn't want her? I understand he did it to preserve her feelings. I mean, like if I were a kid her age and he came up to me and said, "Your father doesn't want you," I wouldn't believe him. First off, I say, "Let me see my dad now because I want to talk to him." He seems to have a way with words. Just explain to her, how your dad feels about you and your mutant powers, and
he was able to talk her out of feeling broken or whatever. He's like, "You are not broken." Like the most sincere human or mutant on the planet that ever was is like James McAvoy is just so serious about everything in these movies. So he's able to convince her of that, but not of, hey, you'll be okay. Like you got a kind of a raw deal. Your dad doesn't know how to handle this. I do, but hey, we're gonna be okay. Like that seems like a better choice.
Right, absolutely.
Like I'm gonna make you forget. These are not the childhood memories you're looking
Let me
for.
put blocks in your mind. Come on, really?
Lobotomizing someone is always the best answer, and that's what he did.
Yeah, it's right up there with a nuclear deterrent.
Let's
right?
just talk about that part because that's another carryover from The Last Stand that was not in the comic books. In the comics, this was a entity of intense power that overwhelmed Jean, and she had to deal with its power. In the movies, in the first one, she just naturally had too much power and developed a second sort of identity known as the Phoenix, and then Charles had to put those mental blocks in. In this one, they kept that element of Professor X feeling the need to tamper with her mind, but this had nothing to do with the Phoenix or intense,
completely unrelated.
Power that she couldn't control. It was just like some trauma. People deal with that stuff all the time, every day. And had he just put her through some like therapy or something, or gotten someone else to help, I don't know what he's professor of.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not psychology.
No.
But that would have been. But I think they just felt the need to give Charles like a stake in this.
Right. Yeah.
But it also detracts from Jean Grey. The movie's called Dark Phoenix. It's about her. Let her have the conflict. You don't need to like manufacture something and still have a reason that Charles is important or key. I understand that they want to make him important in some way, but the movie sort of becomes about his hubris, thinking he knew what was best, and him lobotomizing one of these this little kid.
Well, effectively, what the movie becomes is the Dark Phoenix is a force that actually catches Xavier at what he did. The other thing that I think this movie did wrong that The Last Stand also did wrong was like there's all these mutants that I have no idea what their names are, no idea what their powers are. There was the hair guy. There was the lady that seemed like an AM radio who was also psychic.
Her name is Celine.
Celine, okay.
Celine.
They say her name once, right as she's killed.
Got it. I missed that.
I heard Magneto say something. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, Celine. Oh, she's gone.
She's gone. So there's a lot of sort of disposable kind of characters, disposable mutants, for lack of a better word, that show up kind of cannon fodder style, and they're gone before we even get a chance to know them.
It was a pretty big disappointment. Also, what gave me sort of X-Men The Last Stand End Battle vibes was how the Dabari were these sort of just generic, disposable, uninteresting, underdeveloped bad guys who just literally just jumped and threw themselves at the X-Men so the X-Men could unleash their powers in cool ways, really visceral, violent ways in some aspects. Did it bump you guys how quickly Nightcrawler got the bloodlust? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Like he was Nightcrawler's kind of like fighting, and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna rip skulls.
Yeah, that was really frightening to see.
It happened in a hurry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No. It actually brought up it gave me imagery of something from the comics where Nightcrawler is known for using a sword, but here he just had a knife that he was using to shank one of the Dabari, and just like eviscerating him with it, which was
it's like
really
immediately he was like, oh wait, my powers translate to terrifying death, and like that connection was made for him just like that.
Yeah, I was hoping that he would poof and then appear inside of one of their bodies and then and just burst, burst out of their body.
He's just
I was
like,
really
I'm going to
hoping.
appear in your stomach, and then
I can appear anywhere.
or like grab one of their heads and teleport away with just the head.
Yes.
Fatality.
I did like how he teleported one of them in front of the train, and then was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, he's a terrifying monster now. That's a bunch of our Dark Phoenix thoughts. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And as always, subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch. We'll see you next time.